John, how are you today?
Great, Rick.
Today we're going to be cooking alligator and oxtail.
Your refrigerator must be a strange place right now. I've never had alligator tail, so I hope we can shine some light on what you're cooking.
Why do some animals have tails and others don't?
Well, in fact, almost all animals have tails, even we do. Here's an example of the human skeleton, and if you look down at the base, you'll see this little triangular bone down here. Actually, there's 2 or 3 bones together, known as the coccyx, or the tailbone. And they all represent a bit of a tail for us. Most other species have just more segments, and that's what forms the tail, is vertebral segments.
The alligator tail is a lot bigger than the cow tail. Is that because there are more pieces there?
Well, it's a lot longer. Certainly I don't really know how many segments there are, but certainly in terms of the size of the tail, there's a lot of muscle there because the animal uses its tail for locomotion. But the length of the tail is determined in part by how many vertebral segments are attached together.
Well, we're back. We're going to cook some oxtails. And for those of you who don't cook with oxtail, you're really missing out on something. And this is what oxtail looks like.
Alan, that's not what oxtail looks like. I'll show you what oxtail looks like.
Oh, I see what you mean. Now that's an oxtail.
This is an oxtail.
I've actually never seen a whole oxtail before, so this is quite fascinating to me. Go ahead, do your surgical duty.
Well, when I talked to the meat man, he showed me, and with my past experience, I think I can do this. First, you have to get a pretty big knife. And
with the skill of a surgeon, I might add.
And you can see right here, this is a perfect example of a disc. And this is when we herniate our disc. This is what happens, that the inside part here goes out through these concentric rings of really tough tissue. And you can also see the structure of the muscles on the sides here.
Oh, okay.
You can see along here all of the muscles that they attach at different levels, but also all the way along here. And in fact, you can see a little bit of a tendon here, and that's similar to the tendons in your hands that make your fingers move.
Okay. And this is one of the things about cooking oxtail is that the meat is really, really amazingly delicious, but it's all sort of hidden in these parts around the bone. Well, speaking of the taste and the flavor, what do you think we make a little classic French oxtail daube?
This is great. I love it.
All right. Well, let's do it. And in fact, I'm going to switch you places here. And when we say daube, what we're talking about is a classic French way of cooking where first you sear your meat and then you slow cook it in the oven with some wine. So what we're going to do first is we've taken this oxtail that's been cut into nice pieces for us.
Oh, let me take the rest of it so clear it out of your way here.
Okay, well, thank you. And so much for the alien out of my way. And but we have this beautiful oxtail. And what you want to do with this recipe, it's very, very simple in terms of starting. You take some nice kosher salt the oxtail on both sides, and some pepper similarly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Dr. Rick here to dip it in some flour. We're going to fry it in some vegetable oil. Now we're going to use vegetable oil this time and not olive oil because we want a higher cooking temperature. We want something that's going to be able to conduct the heat. And so there we go with our oxtails, and I'll get you started. And what I'm going to do with respect to this daube is I'm going to start work, once we get this going, I'm going to start working on the vegetable portion. So I've got some beautiful canola oil.
Nice big pan.
Another nice big pan.
How many of these are we cooking?
Well, normally, for the amount of meat on them, you want 2 nice pieces of oxtail per serving. And later on, I'm going to plate these on some beautiful roasted garlic mashed potatoes. And so I would say for 4 servings, we'd like about 8 nice big pieces of oxtail. So I'll leave that to you to dredge them in the flour. And you want to brown them on all sides, not just on the front or the bone side, but on all sides. And you want to get the flour all around. And that's going to make for a really nice brown coating that you wouldn't get in the oven. And it's also going to hold in some of those juices when you slow cook it. So I'm going to leave you to that. To go along with this, what we're going to do is we're going to take a classic French mirepoix, some chopped onions, about a cup of chopped onions. I used about a nice medium onion and a half. about a half a cup of chopped celery, and about a third of a cup of chopped carrots, all roughly chopped. Now, when you're talking about those three things, Doc, you are talking about French cooking. So what you want is you sort of want to get a nice sort of a brown edge on everything, not just the oxtail, but also on the vegetables. You want to let these onions brown. And how are we doing on our oxtail?
Oh, it's coming up here. The heat is coming.
Well,
I can feel it. I can feel it right about here.
Listen, I feel bad about starving him out while we're cooking all this food, but you know, that's the thing about this dish too, is it makes your house smell so good when you're slow cooking it later in the oven.
I've lost count.
Well,
I have 9.
now that's something you don't want to hear in the operating room, is when a surgeon says, "I've lost count." So I put some tomatoes, some peppercorns, some bay leaf, and some thyme in there. And another nice sort of a rural French thing to do with this recipe is just take a whole head of garlic. What you want to do is you want to cut it in half on the diagonal, just like that, and put it right in. It's going to be a really nice flavor as well. The other thing that we're going to put in here is some wine, about 4 cups of Cabernet.
What happened to the first half of the bottle of that wine?
Well, you know, a chef's got to do a lot of prep work in the kitchen. And,
I understand.
So,
okay.
You know, we're not building a piano here. You know, you don't have to pay too much attention.
We're not doing surgery.
That's right, we're not doing surgery. So we want about 8 cups of chicken broth. And that should do us cover our oxtail really well. How are we doing on browning our oxtail?
Well, this is coming fairly well. I'm always afraid of burning this, but it looks like it's browning up very well.
No, it's really perfect, and you can see what a nice golden brown crust there is on this beautiful piece of meat. And again, it's held together very well. What did you call this part again on the outside?
Well, that's the fascia.
There's the fascia again.
That's right.
Now the fascia is back, the same fascia we saw on our alligator tail, and this is actually going to act as a natural sort of an elastic band to keep all of our meat intact while it's cooking. And I think we're actually just about ready to put those babies into our pot. Let's cut the heat on your burner.
Okay.
So there we are, splattering away with our oxtail. We've got the oven. It's going to be preheated to about 350 degrees. Once again, you know, you're going to have to be patient for at least 2.5 hours.
I don't know if I'll stand it, but okay.
Don't worry, we got a half bottle of wine left. We'll find a way to occupy ourselves. Anyway, let's go to the oven.
Let me get the door for you.
There we go. And when we come back, our little dough will be ready, and we'll begin plating it with some beautiful roasted garlic mashed potatoes.
Good.
All right. Well, Dr. Rick, the moment of truth.
Well, Alan, I'm looking at these, and I can't believe that we did this.
Well, we've got our beautiful alligator tail pilau, and we've got all the makings of a beautiful classic daube.
Okay,
so,
let's get to it.
Enough talking, let's start plating. And for the alligator, it's very simple. I mean, I wouldn't plate it any other way except to get it on a nice big plate to show the color. Make sure that everyone has a nice bit of gator.
Nice portion.
Nice portion.
Yeah, piece of tail.
We've been avoiding that all day, but thank you. Now it's the end of the show. And then just a little sprig of thyme on the top. And there you have a beautiful gator pilau. Now, this is hot, so I'm just going to grab a cloth. And now for the dough. One of my favorite things in the whole world, garlic mashed potatoes. So we'll start with a beautiful bowl. And again, if I were plating this at home, I would like something with a bit of a recess in it, because we're going to put some of that beautiful sauce in it. So we've got our roasted garlic mashed potatoes. A little bit vertical in the middle. And now find a nice, beautiful, sticky piece of that, and to the plate there.
Just one?
Oh, no, a couple for sure. And one there.
That's beautiful.
We could actually put more on the plate if you wanted to, or if you wanted to serve it in a platter. But now this beautiful, beautiful reserved sauce that we have. And I'm just going to move it out a little bit here and get it around the plate. Lots of sauce for that beautiful daube, and we are plated.
Okay, I've got my instruments right here.
Okay, you've got your utensils, and as we dig in, it's been a pleasure cooking with you today, and to everyone at home, hope you enjoyed getting a little close to the bone. Chin chin. Well, let's dig in. Oh,
Okay.
fantastic.
Okay.
Okay.